fast melt caramel. So what it's going to do best is it's going to reduce your sugar cravings or any other cravings you have in your body. It's going to suppress that appetite. But where Melissa got the most benefit, I think, over the last week was the L-carnitine. The L-carnitine tells your mitochondria, this is where you make, we talked about it before, this is where you produce energy in your cells. It actually tells those mitochondria to burn fat for fuel. We're noticing other people losing up to 7 pounds in the first week. 4 pounds has been about the average. As you lose weight and as you take these Bella Melts, it's going to help lower that blood sugar in your body as well.
All the information is there. MelissaHouseBG.com, MelissaHouseBG.com. Just now introducing for the first time Bella Melt with GLP-1 fast action.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for joining me today, wherever and whichever platform you're joining me from, which would be live on worldviewtube.com, worldviewtube, Rumble, and X. Also on worldviewtube app, which every single day that I'm on air, I encourage you to install the app. It is very easy. It is for free. Just go to your app store, look up worldviewtube, all one word, install it, and turn on your notification. It makes your life easier, especially if you're like me, doing everything with your phone. Also, we're live on X, America News X, and on my platforms on X, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and Substack. Please do share this feed wherever you're watching it. Invite your friends to join. And today, as I felt very bad yesterday and the day before, I barely got a chance to look at your comments or address them. Today, we're going to spend most of the time on comment section, so feel free to send those comments in. Comments, questions, suggestions, agreement, disagreement. We will address them. I did the bare minimum prep for my show, which is strange because I almost never do prep, but lately things are a little different. Before we get started, I want to spend the first segment especially with some updates and more updates. And but per let's just do this. Let's take, if you don't mind, we're going to take a moment of silence in memory of those who have lost their life for freedom. And the list goes on. We're going to continue playing the video. Um, and I was asked, why do I care to show faces or post faces? Because they need to be remembered. Young or old, it doesn't matter. Every single one of these humans died, made the ultimate sacrifice for freedom. And in America, we cherish that. We're all about freedoms. So I wish I could show every single face, but that's impossible as the numbers have now passed 30,000 killed. But we do what we can. Updates: 30,000 killed, confirmed. And again, we are about 3 days behind on confirmation, getting information because of blackout, which now has passed 300 hours of blackout. Here and there during the day, they get to connect to VPNs for 10 minutes or so. They push what they can, and after that, it's blackout again. So I have videos. I have a hard time staying quiet since last night. I have my TV running in the background, or I'm talking on the phone, or I'm listening to something, because the moment I go quiet, all I hear in my head are cries and screams just watching these videos. They were so bad, I couldn't post them. I couldn't bring them on my show today. That it's just, I have watched them, but I still can't imagine what people who were right there witnessing it felt, or how they feel today. But one thing I can agree with is within a statement that that our queen put out early this morning, or late last night basically, which was Iran and Iranians will never be the same regardless of what happens tomorrow. And I want you to understand, Iran has faced a lot of wars, a lot of battles. Iranians, including myself, we have faced war, actual war. Those in Iran have faced 12 uprisings, and none of that has compares to what has happened in the last 24 days in Iran. From those of us outside who are just watching the videos or listening to the audio files, to those who were on the streets witnessing it, those who watch it happen to their kids, to their parents, to their loved ones. So I agree with her. Regardless of what happens tomorrow, Iran and Iranians will never be the same. For better or worse, will never be the same. Some of the updates of videos that I can share with you, as of right now, we know that the way these brave people were killed was anything from bullets of all kind to slit throats to ran over by trucks and cars to beat to death and everything in between. I have personally seen the video of a store that protesters were hiding inside, and the riot forces got inside and they were not shot. They were their throat was slit. For whatever reason, I don't know. They were out of bullet. I don't know. I don't know anymore. What I do know is we're still counting bodies to we have confirmation report from human rights watch groups that the number is so high. Certain cities have announced that they have ran out of body bag, and they have requested transfer of body bag from other locations. I guess one tragic but good story is now one protester pretended to be dead in the crowd. He was put in a body bag. He played dead for 3 days in a body bag, but when they released the information for families to come dig into body bags and identify their loved ones, he was found alive by another family, who then called his family to come get him. But that's where we're at. One person survived by playing dead for 3 days inside a body bag, inside one of the warehouses they were keeping the bodies. And I want to be very clear, I am not telling you any of this for the petty or the tears or the pain or the blood or the blame. I'm telling all of this to encourage every human being out there who's watching this program for whatever reason from anywhere, that if you have freedoms, hold on to them. Hold on to them as if your life depends on it, because it does. What you have witnessed in last 24 days, the bare minimum lesson you should learn is the freedoms you take for granted every day, the freedoms that you can't even list in a sentence, the freedoms that is so normal, so part of your life that you sometimes forget you have them, so you neglect to even practice them, are way more precious than you can tangibly understand. I am giving you updates, I am giving you reports, and I am showing you faces of a 19-year-old, 16-year-old, 46-year-old, 57-year-old, 32-year-old, all of them. So you understand the freedoms doesn't apply to a certain group or generation or race or a specific type of people. When you lose your freedoms, it doesn't matter who you are, what age you are, what your dream is about. Your basics are gone. The basics that in America specifically are so embedded that most of the time when you wake up in the morning, you don't stand there, look in the mirror and say, hey, I'm so blessed that my basics are here, because 30,000 people just died in matter of 17 days. Again, we're behind on numbers. In 17 days, 30,000 people died in so many different ways, horrific, painful, agonizing, or quick, by snipers, because they didn't have the basics I have. So why don't I take today with gratitude and make sure, at least in honor of those who just died, I will practice my God-given rights. I will learn them. I will write them down on a notepad and put it on my fridge. Because if tomorrow I get busy and I forget about those faces, those names, those ages, those methods, I can look at my fridge and remember that I am blessed beyond my own comprehension by the freedoms I have in this beautiful country. Let's conclude on this segment. Head to our first ad break. When we come back, I see your comments popping up. We're going to address the comments. Be right back. Well, hello everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure, for at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com. Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with me until now. That painting was done in 2020, and it's been hanging on a generous supporter of mine for about a good 5 years now. But I do hope that you head over to my art studio, lutfstudio.com, and see if you can find something you like, or it might be a good fit for a friend or a loved one as a gift. And use promo code MISSION for 10% off or discount. I feel like for some reason my lighting is so dark today, which kind of matches the theme, but anyhow. Hi, Pookies. Good to see you on YouTube. Melody says, thank you, Annie, for honoring these heroes like this. Absolutely. It is my duty to do so. Pookie said, Annie, I just heard that the deaths have risen to 50,000 from a reliable source, but I will say one is too many. Pookie, I agree, one is too many. I personally cannot confirm the 50,000. I know it is over 30,000 now. I can confirm the over 30,000. However, as I said, days before, at least my channels of confirmation were a few days behind. I'm very much few days behind on. I have so many videos I need to verify and confirm, but between work, doing my show, doing the Substack, it's taking me a little longer, but I would not be shocked. Trust me, these numbers are going to climb up within the next couple of weeks, and the crackdown is still going on. The executions are happening. I reported on my page yesterday that they just issued a execution by hanging for a 19-year-old. So the numbers are they're gonna keep climbing, and we are, at least we, the Iranian people, are we think we have prepared ourselves for the numbers as they come in. James said 30,000 unarmed people. Islam by itself has become 100 times worse than Hitler ever was. Yes, that's 30,000 unarmed people. However, even before this, Islam was still deadlier. There's a very not so funny joke of, Mohammed, Stalin, Mao, and Hitler walked into a bar. That, the rest of the joke. But yes, sir, it is. Grace says, Pastor Sharam Hadian is my pastor. What a blessing. He's wonderful. And he has two sons that are in these age ranges. And I can't help but to think, when I look at them, that is what these precious young souls in Iran look like. Yes, ma'am. Donald says, if they are cutting throats, they are almost done as an organic. I'm sorry, Donna, I'm not understanding your comment. Thank you, teen girl. I appreciate. May God bless all of us as we go through everything we're going through, not just what's happening in Iran. We all know things are getting very dark everywhere. Shalom, Kurt. Good to see you. Islam has attracted every psychotic killer worldwide. They have opened the world to every single criminal in the world. Governments draft soldiers. Islam attracts their enemy. That is very true. That is absolutely true. Good to see you, Pacheta, Lori, on Substack, and everybody else on Substack. And yes, Lori, it is very sad. And well, it's going to take time. Lori says, no way we will ever know how many were murdered. We will. Well, I will. It's going to take a long time. But one thing that does happen, no doubt about it, every time there's an uprising in Iran, takes a while, but every person, family members, they will report it in one way or another. Right now it's taking longer, which this is another, I can't even imagine if I was in her place, but I've watched another video, a rally this weekend in Europe, and one of the Iranians who attended the rally and supported people inside Iran, this poor woman, she found out that her brother was murdered through the biggest screen that they were displaying the names. That has been confirmed. Can you imagine? Because of blackout, those outside of Iran, we don't even know. We have to find out through sorting through videos or confirmations or images or at rallies. But it will take time. But we will know the exact number through family members, through neighbors, through those who were there. A lot of eyewitness videos and voices are coming out that are telling, how many day witness died. If they knew a name, they're saying that this was the name or the age of the person. So we'll know. It's just a matter of time until we do. Yes, ma'am, it is terrible, but it is reality of life. without. Thank you, Lori. May the Lord strengthen you, Annie, dear sister, as you deal with all this information. May He also be with the people fighting for freedom and those who have lost loved ones. Amen. Yes, I cannot. I have watched the funeral videos that are amazing. On Rumble T3, I do apologize yesterday because I had a guest. I wasn't looking, and I appreciate your tip yesterday on Rumble. It's greatly appreciated. And since I'm saying it is not a plug, but I didn't actually know until yesterday. One of our viewer on Rumble was able to send a direct donation or gift on a Rumble. So I now know that apparently on my Rumble channel, you can just click that $sign and send a one-time gift if you like to do so. Okay. While the rest of the comments come in, let's do this. So I titled today's show Iranians versus Propaganda. I've been doing a lot of research, of course, trying to help as much as I can with Brennan House's documentary on MEK, Mujahideen Khalq. And while I do all of that, I'll come across a lot of stuff. And I was like, one of the things you hear a lot, which I pointed it out on my debate with Claire Lopez. I have pointed it out plenty of time that, if you listen, you come to realize that with Crown Prince Pahlavi, who has my personal vote, either as a monarch or a transitional government of Iran, I want to be very clear, I have no problem with him bringing Pahlavi dynasty back at all. And I will tell you in a minute why. When you hear all the arguments against him, all the smear campaigns against him, what you hear constantly is Crown Reza Pahlavi or former Crown Prince Pahlavi, whatever they call him, is the son of, and then the critics start. So he's being criticized based on his father, correct? Whereas for example, when I come here and talk to you about MEK or Mujahideen Khalq or PMOI or NCR or NCRI, whichever name they want to go with today, I don't go based on their fathers. I go based on their existing President-elect Mayim Rajabi's resume, which is legit, Now, someone like Claire will sit and say they have reformed. I don't believe it because I still see their actions. But with Crown Prince Pahlavi, you don't hear anybody say anything about him because there isn't anything to be said. There isn't. He was 19 when he became exiled with the rest of his family. As Claire, which she claims she highlighted it because it was important, but when you read her article, which I should mention, she has not updated that misinformation on Newsmax yet. And the reason I'm giving you an update is because I asked her, and I did tell her that I'm going to take your answer as a no. Apparently, I did take it correctly. She's not going to update that misinformation on her article, but she pointed out that she's been out of Iran since he was 17, and he has not been to Iran since he was 17, and instead, he made a successful business in America. Well, that's a great thing. Especially most of Americans, we love great businessmen, right? Especially when you're an exiled crown who comes to America, you're young, you must have learned the ins and outs of America. You must have assembled pretty good to make a successful business. There is nothing to be said about him. The argument has been against the father, Shah of Iran, which on its own should be automatically disregarded because it has nothing to do with the father, right? I can use Canada and Trudeau family. A lot of voters for Trudeau, the son, were shocked because the father was good. It has nothing to do with it. But that aside, now, even though I don't even agree with that argument, I figured, I'm like, okay, so when you hear about Shah, what is immediately after that? It's Savak. Shah's equal of CIA, let's say. The secret police, funny enough, they call it a secret police, though Savak was not a secret police. Savak was openly Savak. Savak was trained by Mossad and CIA, and it was open. Like, if it was a secret police, why do you all know about it? But that's all right. You know, when propaganda hits, propaganda twists. So then it's the Shah, who was a dictator. Why was he a dictator? Because he had Savak. Oh, who's Savak? The secret police that killed thousands and tens of thousands innocent people. You're like, oh no. I actually recently had a comment on my Facebook. She said, yes to Pahlavi as long as no more Savak. Which I wrote back, I said, sure, immediately, as soon as there's no more CIA. What are you talking about? Did you buy the Google results of your search? So Savak, based on those, this is the fun part. I use Claire because, you watched my debate with her. She sat there with argument that was everybody got MEK wrong, right? You heard that. Congress got him wrong. Department of Treasury got him wrong. Police got him wrong. France got him wrong. Islamic Republic of Iran got him wrong. Everybody got him wrong. That's the argument for MEK, right? But she doesn't say, well, there's a propaganda behind Savak. For her, Savak was this brutal secret police that, based on Shah's orders, just killed and tortured and killed and tortured. Now, I want to be very clear. Yes, Savak reported directly to King Pahlavi. No debate there. Yes, Savak reported to King Pahlavi. Another thing I want to say, I will not refute. Yes, Savak used torture methods. Either we like it or not, we all have heard of the torture methods used in, interrogation of Islamist terrorists. Well, our country call them the radical Islamist terrorists. We use torture to get information, don't we? So did Savak. I'm neither agreeing nor disagreeing with the methods. My point is, I'm not refuting that. Savak was using torture, yes. Under Savak interrogation, after getting confession, yes, there were executions, absolutely. But we're going to dig into, when we come back from our next ad break, we're going to dig into some of the people that MEK, for example, made a group and movement out of it, who were arrested, tortured. Actually, interesting enough, in this list, except one, none of them killed. And let's see how much at the end of that you would agree that Savak and Shah were this tyrannical dictatorship of just randomly killing people. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
But with Brandon, it's always cutting edge stuff happening in the world, and it's not just from the political angle, because you can get that on other platforms, but it's always from the biblical angle. So you're dealing with a guy that loves Jesus, you're dealing with a guy that's very intelligent, you're dealing with a guy that is cutting edge conservatism, and you're dealing with a guy that wants to be biblical all at the same time. And so for that reason alone, I hope many people will not just lift up his ministry in prayer, but will also financially get behind it, because from the angle I'm trying to describe, he really is the only game in town. And we desperately need it in these last days. Can I get an amen to that?
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom, and amen. I agree. I absolutely agree. And on every show, I do encourage you to become a Vault member. You will not regret your investment. The level of information, the extent of information you can find there that are verified, show receipt from Brandon himself, me, Dr. Andy Woods, Rob Linstead, everybody else who comes on Brandon's show, you will definitely appreciate, and it is an investment, literally, like the level of information and knowledge you will receive for a small amount you pay is very much worth it. So go and become a Vault member on boardviewtube.com/vault. It is very much worth it. Okay, let me answer 2 questions on comment section, and then we get to what I was saying before. Hi, Sandra. So good to see you, and thank you. Thank you for your support and words of encouragement. Lori says, are they people getting info out, and how is that? Yes, as I said, here and there we have been receiving, when I say we, I mean the entire Iranian community. I have received it, Iran International receives it, the other person receives it from family member. There are very small peaks of moment where they can connect to VPN, and when they do that, they push as much as they can out. Also, there was a group of Iranians who were able to cross border into Turkey. A lot of them, the moment they got to Turkey, they started putting out information, sending videos they had. They just started recording themselves, telling everybody what they have witnessed. So that's where we are as far as getting information out. Teresa says, can the Middle East handle 2 major countries selling oil to all countries? It sounds like Saudi sells to the West and Iran sells to China in a sneaky fashion. We could have some really low prices. What say you? I think everyone's scared about that as well. Yes, ma'am. I've been saying that pretty much since week 2 or second week of revolution in Iran, that one of the reasons we shouldn't hold our breath for anyone to come to help the Iranian people. There's a difference. Helping Iranian people or hijacking the revolution are 2 different concepts, which I'll get to another time, or you can read my Substack that I covered it. The reason we shouldn't hold our breath for anyone to come help Iranian people is actually that very topic. A free Iran, especially under Pahlavi leadership, is a huge threat to Saudi Arabia, first of all. Saudi Arabia they will face a huge competition. And also it's a threat to China, it's a threat to Russia, it's a big threat to the elites. So yes, you're on the right track. Unfortunately, not just oil. In many other, again, Iran has gold, 24 karat gold. They got the 925 silver. They have minerals. They have oil. They have gas. They have saffron, leading country in producing saffron, opium, pistachio. That's the thing. There are so many, like Iran. If you read Crown Prince Pahlavi's 100-day transitional plan after the fall of the regime, you'll see the economic plan chapter in there that shows you Iran can go from where it's at, which is 72% of population living under line of poverty, to a very quickly successful economically, just like it was under his father, within 100 days. So yes, that is definitely one of the reasons that is very scary for anyone to picture, not necessarily the regime, but a free Iran, because there's a difference between a free Iran and a regime change. I didn't know that, Pookie. Apparently Rumble rants rock. 80% of the rants go to my account. Well, I don't really have much audience on Rumble, but anybody who wants to head over to Rumble and do a Rumble rant, I will not complain. Thank you, Kurt. James said, every nation in this world knows the evil of Islam, the jihadists, Shias. The World War III is happening now. Islam against the world, against every nation on the earth, yet no one understands or acknowledges it. World War III started a while ago. I agree with that. But many do understand that your last word is the key word, acknowledging it. Islam is known by everyone, including its own followers, to be a cult of death. However, Islam has played great for a lot of purposes, such as red-green axis, Marxist, Islamist, socialist, communist, elites, globalists. So that's why Islam gets protection. Let's dive into this. I said, let's talk about. So I came across this wonderfully made picture that has, it's the black and white picture, Thomas, in the email. There we go. So it's in Farsi, that's all right. The top basically said Savak, the widest uh, uh, information or intelligence organization in the world. Savak never got it wrong when it came to the enemies of Iran. You be the judge of it. And then you see faces, pictures of these are some of the people who were arrested, some even tortured by Savak, but none except one was killed by Savak. That on its own makes a point. We have, what do we have? 15 faces here, which I will go over, by the way, with you. 15 faces. Every single one of these faces have made a story about how Shah was a murderer and a dictator, but funny enough, none of them were killed by Savak. Right there again, I think argument just lost its argument. Because if he was a murderer, why did you all survive? Why did you all survive? Why were you not killed? Why didn't he order your execution too? Now, the one guy who was executed, which we'll get to him, was a little different. The crime was really too obvious and the conviction was on the table through proper evidence. But the rest of them, well, they're still alive. Some of them are still alive to this day. I want to bring your attention to the bottom row, second picture from the left. Is there any way we can zoom in a little bit on that face? Bottom row, second picture from the left. What you're looking at, that face is of Ayatollah Khamenei, the current supreme leader of Islamic Republic of Iran. That is that man. That is his arrest picture from Savak time. Do you really think Savak was this random, torturing, murdering secret police of Shah who just randomly picked up people and killed them? You do realize if Savak would kill that one man, Khamenei, which most of the world now on camera is calling him a sick murderer. Just one of 15. We're going to get to more of them. That's Khamenei. That's a guy you see on camera making threats toward America, Trump, Europe. He has funded jihad and terrorism for over 40 years. So I'm going to actually look at the comment section. One of the 15 we just talked about. Do you think Savak was a secret police that shouldn't exist if Iran is freed? Or do you think Savak was actually on the right track and actually dealt with Islamic terrorism? That's why Shah had to be toppled. Because that's the argument I have made over and over. Shah of Iran wasn't hated by Iranian. Generations later, I was born after the revolution. I'm sure you have noticed my passion and gratitude toward the entire Pahlavi dynasty. How could that be? A researcher like me, if what they say about him is true, if the propaganda that US and France started about him, if those information were correct, don't you think I would have come across at least one of them and changed my gratitude? Or sit here and say, oh yeah, they're right. Pahlavi was the murderous dictator. I haven't found a single evidence, but here's what I have found. And I want to repeat, yes, they did torture, but you just saw one of the names. You now know this man. You know who he is. You know what he's capable of. Under his leadership in last 24 days, 30,000 unarmed innocent protesters were killed. So why are you crying? Literally, this is where Crimea River MEK comes to picture. Now let's talk about MEK. In that list of picture, top row from the left, second face, and then the fourth face, a woman, those are the Rajavis. That is Masoud Rajavi, and the woman in the hijab is Maryam Rajavi. Maryam Rajavi, the president-elect. Masoud Rajavi, we talked about him 2 days ago. President of MEK. Both, after they were released from prison, both led an actual terrorist group that ended up killing Americans. They ended up on terrorist list. these two will come and tell you how terrible Shah of Iran was and what Savak has done to them. But now you see what back then they knew they're capable of doing. Is this something that I'm going to cry over or blame Savak for? I wish our intelligence agencies in America would deal with these monsters that we keep releasing on the streets and trade in present, I can't think of the word, exchange. And the list goes on. I'm going to actually just throw the rest. We don't even have to zoom in because you probably don't know by face. So far, Supreme Leader of current Supreme Leader of Iran with blood of over 100,000 Iranians. Then we have Masoud Rajavi and Mayam Rajavi, leaders of MEK Mujahideen Khalq that has literally blood of at least 12,000 Iranians and at least 7 American citizens on their hand. Then we're going to go to bottom left is the only man who was executed by the Shah of Iran or under his order. He was an MEK operative in Europe. He was an MEK operative in Europe. He planned 2 of the terrorist attacks inside Iran after coming back from Europe when he did his lobbying and got the material and the money they needed to purchase the weapons that ended up, one of them ended up killing an American lieutenant colonel in Iran. So of course he's going to be executed. He was convicted. Even American newspapers published that information. Again, you're going to sit here and tell me how terrible Savak was? Savak was by far the only intelligence organization in the world after, well, I should say before Mossad that properly dealt with terrorism. Yes, you kill terrorists. Because if you don't, look what they end up doing to the people. MEK killed Americans. So for any American to sit here and tell me Shah of Iran was a tyrannical, barbaric murderer, he used his Savak to kill innocent people, here's your proof. Oops again. And as I said, the list goes on, but you will not find one single name executed by Savak that was not tied to IRGC, Islamic Khomeini, MEK, PMOI, Tudeh, or any of them. Yes, that's what Savak did. And that's exactly why Middle East had its best days during Pahlavi. Because he was stopping Islamic terrorism. Not because he was some crazy guy who killed people randomly who opposed him. Yes, every name in that list opposed Shah. But that wasn't why they were arrested. That wasn't why they were tortured. And that was most certainly not why they were executed. Again, 14 out of 15 are not executed. They were not killed. They were released one way or another. Even Masoud Rajavi, who was the last one to be released during the hijacked Islamic Revolution, he wasn't sentenced to death. He was sentenced to life in prison. So they can't even say, well, we were waiting to be killed. No, you weren't. I went a little over. We're going to head over to our last ad break. When we come back, we're going to read some more, read your comments, and close the show.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHouseBG.com.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with me until now. I greatly appreciate that. And I have noticed that I wait way too much to the last second. So I'm going to do it now before we dive back into some of those faces, some of those names, and some of your comments. As you know, I don't get paid to do what I do. Either my show, my Substack, my reporting, my translation, anything I do. You guys help me pay the bills. A few ways you can do that. Number one is becoming a paid subscriber on my Substack. It's very affordable for the information I provide. Another way to support me is through my artist store, as we mentioned earlier, lutfstudio.com. And another way, my favorite way, is because it actually gives you good options, is head over to cyruswellness.com. That's cyruswellness.com. 100% chemical-free products. Very affordable, and actually they last longer, so you end up saving money on what you're spending. And then I receive a percentage as a commission percentage of your purchase. So you get a better product, which could be cleaning supply, cloth, hygiene, skincare, pets, children, they have all of it. You save money, and you also financially support me, since I get a portion of your purchase comes to my bank account, cyruswellness.com. And the Substack is liveuptofreedom.substack.com. I appreciate all of your support. And I see, thank you, Kurt, I appreciate that. Sweet Bloom on YouTube says, wow, you're the best investigator. Boom. Thank you. When it comes to this kind of topic, I always warn people, I'm like, do not open that can of worm. Do not make me bring evidence. Because I had messages where people were like, I was disappointed, with that debate. You did great, but they were disappointed, thinking Claire Lopez as, this detail-oriented, very, well-informed person. And she just denied all of it. And I was like, well, yeah. And it's about to get worse. I'm sorry. All of us Iranians have said, if you're going to back MEK, know this, you'll never succeed to place MEK in Iran. But you will definitely manage to ruin your own credibility. There is too much evidence against MEK for anyone to sit there and say, they got him wrong. I don't think so. They misunderstood him. Congress got him wrong. Our military got him wrong. It's just too much evidence for anyone to believe that. And then there are those of us who will dig it, like literally dig, 50 years, 55 years, some of them 52 years old pictures. Remember, I can read Farsi. I can dig in Farsi. One more name I want to mention. So second row, right in the middle, very young back then, guy was Rafsanjani. A lot of you are remembering him. Rafsanjani he became famous when he became the president of America. In this picture, he's not wearing his mullah uniform, but later he started wearing the mullah uniform after the revolution. He was one of the main targets of Savak. He has spent plenty of time in prison, and interrogated plenty. And I will, just in case if some of you may not remember, actually the first time I ever wrote in English for an American outlet was for American Thinker, and that was in 2017 when Rafsanjani died of natural causes and old ages. Again, Savak didn't kill Rafsanjani, though he was one of the main targets. He was equally main target as much as was Rajavi. They didn't kill him. He was sentenced to life in prison. And yes, they did torture him because he had information. And that's where it gets interesting. Imagine if Savak would actually kill him. That would have been great. The bare minimum you might relate to is Rafsanjani was named in Argentina's 1994 1994 AMIA bombing that killed 300 people. So again, you see how Shah wasn't just protecting Iran. It wasn't even Iran first. With his Savak, he was protecting the world from Islamic Jihad. Those on this list that were stopped and controlled, somebody on the comments section says he was controlling them. Controlled. The torture was to get information to stop these attacks. It wasn't torture because they opposed Shah. Why do you think they were opposing the Shah? Because he was a dictator? No, because he was stopping him. Because he was keeping him on a tight leash. Every single one of these names, after the Western countries pushed their propaganda and hijacked the revolution and put their mullahs in place, every single one of these names killed Iranians and non-Iranians. So, for anyone out there, Iranian, American, Argentinian, Mexican, Arab, whatever, when you sit there and say Shah was this dictator and through his Savak he killed innocent people, I want to inform you of something. Since Savak didn't exist, again, don't take my word. Hey, go search your own GPT. Search your Grok. Use the search on your Google. These Islamist jihadists have started blossoming all over the world. And I go back to this is why. I said I don't say the things I say because I'm ungrateful. During 12 Days War, the videos are still out there and I will gladly play it on one of my shows. During 12 Days War, I had many people messaging asking if I'm going to go to Iran if the war ends up with Iran freeing. And I flat out on that video said, no, I'll go to help. But America is always home. I'm not abandoning America. So for the record that you think I say what I say because I'm ungrateful. No, I say what I say because I love history. And I love backing it up with documentation. And I just did that. And we only went over, again, I can go over every single one of the, honestly, quickly. I'm just going to literally read. We have, who do I have here? Oh, we had Sadr Ziva Kalam. He became the lobbyist, where he was the first one to find his way in US and UK for lectures, pro-Islamic regime lectures. He became the propaganda machine for them. Of course, we had Ali Rajai. By the way, I should say this. Ali Rajai on this list, who was the first president after the Islamic Revolution, he is the guy who wrote the Constitution with the line of this revolution was set to open the path for global jihad and global caliphate, right? He was one of the writers of the Islamic Constitution you read today. And he was killed by MEK. Interesting. So Shah didn't kill any of them. They killed each other. I find that very curious. No, I don't actually. I find that very funny. Who else do I have on that list? Oh, this one was also Asadullah Larijani, who later became known as Butcher of Evin. Okay, Butcher of Evin, which MEK is going to tell you that all the people he killed were MEK prisoners. No, many of them were. But he killed anyone who did not say Khomeini is great. That's it. What they label Shah of, that was what Larijani did. And you know how he died? He was assassinated by MEK. Oops. Another MEK killing Ayatollahs and mullahs and Islamic members and them killing MEK. This is a perfect example, right? Lajavardi was Evin present because he was killing MEK, and then MEK ended up killing Lajavardi. I don't see any of them had any problems with Shah, except that Shah was keeping them in place, so they couldn't even kill each other. If you think about it, Khamenei, if you think about it, Maryam Rajavi, Shah of Iran was protecting you by locking you up, because you all ended up killing each other. Because that's what Islam is, right? Who's a better Muslim? Anyhow, that's the list goes on. The list goes on. I sometimes feel like I should do a documentary just on Savak. Put all the names and pictures. Say, tell me which one of them were you unhappy with either being arrested, tortured, or killed. Again, I go back to, I wish we did that in our country. We constantly give them back we give hundreds of them back to take one of ours back, and people cried out, we're using torture against people. These people want you dead. So I will sit here proudly and I will say, those who are judging Crown Prince Pahlavi by saying he's the son of the Shah, who was a tyrannical dictator who killed those who opposed him through his Savak, I just gave you a glimpse at what Savak actually did. But stop listening to propaganda out there. My fellow Americans and all the people of the West, you have been so programmed to believe propaganda against good days of Middle East that you don't even do your own research. You don't even look at the evidence. Think about it. 1979 until today, and then look back. Don't listen to what they dictate to you. No, go do your research. Nowadays, research is pretty easy. As I said, even ChatGPT will tell you exactly what I told you. These are well documented, too hard to remove. Hello from Tel Aviv. Yes, James said these monsters were controlled by the Shah. Exactly, that's what it was. Shah was not a dictator. That is the Islamic goon supporters' lies. Well, Obama, here's the thing. Did I read that correctly? Yeah, Obama. It's not the Islamic goons. It's the Western media. That's how we sold this whole idea in 79. Remember, the first report coming out of the 2,500 years event in Tehran started from American media. So, it's the Western media. Now, today is the alternative media in America, having MEK to sit there and lie about Shah, and judging Giuliani sitting there saying the son of the Shah who was a murderer. I can't tell you though my heart bleeds for my people, but getting the opportunity to sit here and show you what I just showed you is just priceless. But we are out of time, guys. Tomorrow, I will be joined by a very special guest, fellow Iranian American, Dr. Kohanlu. It's going to be a fascinating discussion. You do not want to miss it. Trust me, I almost rarely say that, but tomorrow's discussion is going to be fascinating. Friday, I have an Iranian friend who's going to join me from Germany. More to discuss. And I cannot wait to conduct those interviews. CyrusWellness.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com, and lutfstudio.com is where you can support what I do. If you like the
better science leads to better outcomes. So by understanding the science in much more intimate detail, delivering a value product that is so different from anybody else,